Hello, this is our new editing diary because we redone our editing again because we found out from our audience feedback that there was a few things we needed to change. We started editing on the 3rd of March and it took us about 2 hours, so we started at 2 and finished at 4. The reason we're re-editing is of course we have problems, which Becky will explain in a minute what our problems was that we found out, and about the problems and how we resolved them.
So, because of Mr. Sheriff's and the audience's points of view of our thriller, we had to also reshoot some things. So we did that as well as the editing on the same day. The reasons we had to re-edit was to make the audience understand what happened to the doll and the child. So we added things like rocking horses, swings, just to make it more childish, because that's what we were trying to portray. And
not to give too much information out, as we felt like we were giving too much of the story out before we actually done it, which was one of our own improvements we thought we could do.
Yeah, we also had to spread out the title sequence because we tried to cram all the title sequence within the first 30 seconds and we meant to do it over the 2 minutes. So we had a lot of editing to do, but when we've done these, it looked much better. So the outcome of it was good.
So some of the improvements we found out, which was from our audience, we asked some people that were in school, is they didn't like the part when Becky fell out the door, as they thought it looked non-naturalistic, so we simply just cut that out and replaced it with the swings and that to make, again, what Mr. Sheriff said. We'd done sound effects as well when the doll fell onto the ground, so we got some copyright-free sound effect for when it bangs on the floor. And as well, we cut most of the scenes out of the parents because a lot of people found they weren't very emotional and showed a lot of emotion towards the daughter in that, so it didn't look very effective, which we don't want it to. We obviously want it to look effective. So we also people said that it sort of jumbled up the locations a bit. So when we were swapping, I think we were focusing too much on the transitions more than going between each one. So instead we used a lot more less of the home scenes, which only Becky was in, so we didn't leave so much of a lead up. We had more various different random shots.
Some of Mr. Sheriff's views from when he watched our first cut were that the sound effects of the doll. So one of the scenes is when the doll finally hits the ground, and he decided that there wasn't enough impact on the doll when this happens, because this is quite an iconic scene for our thriller. So we had to add a sound effect for when it landed, and we did that, which was quite a successful outcome because it made it give more impact and just made it more effective. He also said change the title sequence, which is what we did. And the fast movement of the rocking horse, which is what we did for the trailer as well as our thriller final film. It looked too cheesy, and so we cut that out and added the swings in slow motion, which we thought linked more with the codes and conventions of our thriller, Jessamine.
Well, that was the improvements, and we also just suggested how...
Another difficulty which came when we were re-editing was how when you've changed the thriller once, you can't go back on what you've done. So even though we thought that our first cut was good for our first, when we changed it and we didn't like what we did, we couldn't go back to how it was, which was kind of difficult because we couldn't match the music we'd put in, like the sound effect of the doll falling. So every time we changed it, we couldn't go back, which was a difficulty, but also kind of good how we can play around with it more.
To try and as well fit coding conventions in, we also looked at some other thriller openings. So we looked at Annabelle and that because they're obviously our influences, and we just looked at the way they opened, so we were able to see where people were coming from, and so we can get exactly the same coding conventions of a typical thriller opening, because we want it obviously to look most professional and realistic as possible. But that's it basically. But thank you for listening. We will keep you informed and do another video on our audience responses. Thank you.